We have to move to our next session, and that is an important one. Before we have the graduation ceremony and some more memorandum of understanding signing happening today, inshallah. So our next session is a launch of Global Islamic Finance Report, one of the most important report that is being published on an annual basis since 2010 within the global Islamic banking and finance industry. Today we had earlier presented a copy and did a launch by presenting a copy to His Excellency Sheikh Ibrahim bin Khalifa Al-Khalifa. And now we have the opportunity to understand some of the recent developments within the global Islamic banking and finance industry. And to share some insights from the report, we have the founding chairman and the founding editor of the Global Islamic Finance Report, Professor Dr. Humayun Dar. Without any further ado, I'll invite Dr. Humayun to please join us and share some insights from the annual report.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Wa ala alihi wa ahlihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. This is a session on Global Islamic Finance Report, which we call Cambridge Global Islamic Finance Report 2022. We have pre-launched this about a couple of weeks back in Karachi, and this is the proper launch. The report is the first of its kind of report which we started in 2010. So this is a report which is the oldest yearbook in Islamic banking and finance. So since 2010, we have published quite a number of annual reports, and I will give you the exact number. The first report, which it doesn't work, which was published in 2010, that had a specific theme, and that was size and growth of the industry. And every year since then, we have carried a specific theme of the report. Since 2010, we have published 13 annual editions of the report. So this one, which is the 2022, that is the 13th edition, and this has its own theme, and I would come to that one in a minute. In the report, among other things, we rank about 50 countries of the world in terms of their significance and potential in Islamic banking and finance. Why 50? Because our analysis suggests that after 50, the countries which are involved in Islamic banking and finance, they contribute very marginally to the global Islamic financial services industry. Even in these 50 countries, if we have the highest ranked country having a score of about 90, after 25, the scores, they go to 5, 6, 3, 4, etc., which means that the global Islamic financial services industry is highly concentrated in a few countries. When we look at the classification of IMF, systemically significant markets for Islamic finance, which is defined as the countries where the size of Islamic banking and finance sector is, in terms of percentage, 15% or more, there are only about 16, 17 countries which qualify as such. So 50 is quite a significant number, and we have come up with these rankings since 2011. So about 11, 12 years data we have on what we call Islamic Finance Country Index. The theme of the report every year has been different. So first year, for example, we had size and growth of the industry. Second year, Islamic financial regulation. And all these years, we would have different themes from human resource management to leadership. Last year, we had the response of Islamic finance in the post-COVID era. And this year's report focuses on futurism in Islamic finance, which in a way is an extension of our last year's theme. Now, this is one major contribution of Global Islamic Finance Report. In 2010, we were the first ones who came up with an authentic estimate of the size of the industry. Before that, we used to have 250 billion to 450 billion cited in the market, but we came up with, for the first time in 2010, an estimate of the industry, which at that time was about 600 billion. Since then, the market has grown, and at the end of last year, December 2021, this was the size of the industry worldwide, $3.178 trillion US dollars. So officially, GIFR has reported that global Islamic financial services industry has surpassed the 3 trillion US dollar mark. In terms of growth, so last year in 2021, the growth of the global Islamic financial services industry in terms of its assets was 8.06%, which is very interesting given that previously the growth of the industry was actually with a negative rate. Still, the industry was growing, but since 2012-13, the growth rate was actually going down and down every year. The last 2 years, which coincide with COVID-19, we have started the industry actually exhibiting growth with a positive trend. This is something we have covered in the report extensively, which means that the pandemic has not affected global Islamic financial services industry adversely. This is another very interesting observation. Previously in the GFC, global financial crisis, during the crisis, we found out that Islamic banking and finance wasn't negatively affected by the external shock. And we were happy about it. While the financial services industry in general was suffering, this was a global financial crisis. Financial, not like this pandemic, which was general. So financial sectors around the world were suffering. Islamic banking and finance did not suffer. However, within 2 years, when more data started coming in, we revised our statement by saying that Islamic banking and finance gets affected by the adverse external shocks only with a lag. This time, however, we have reported that during the COVID era, Islamic banking and finance, which was growing with a negative rate, but during COVID-19, it started growing with a positive rate. So this is a new phenomenon, which means that whenever there is an external negative shock hitting the industry, this has proven to be more resilient than the conventional banking and finance, which is very consistent with the theme of this conference. 3 trends we have identified in the global Islamic banking and finance. Number 1, improvement in Sharia governance framework. Last 15 years, there has been a lot of activity with respect to Sharia governance frameworks. AAOIFI, IFSB have developed these standards and documents which have been accepted, adapted, and implemented by the regulators, and of course institutions. They have taken Sharia governance frameworks very seriously as well. Emphasis on Islamic social finance. This is a new trend. Last 2.5 years, especially during COVID, a lot of things were written on the relevance of Islamic social finance. And the session before this one had discussion on zakat, qard hasan, awqaf, etc. So this is very much consistent with what we observed, an emphasis on Islamic social finance. And of course, the world we are living in, technology is everywhere. And Islamic banking and finance has started using technology in such a way that it is benefiting the industry to grow at least as much as the conventional banking and finance, but in most cases, actually the growth in Islamic banking and finance is a lot more than their conventional counterpart. Now, the theme of the report is futurism in Islamic finance. Despite all these good things about ISBF, there is a very clear message coming from the market, from the demand side of the story, that Islamic banking and finance doesn't have a distinct economic value proposition. This has huge implication for the future of Islamic banking and finance. And the report explores this aspect in different ways. Because the industry doesn't have a distinctly unique economic value proposition, its focus is very narrow. It's actually on Sharia compliancy, Sharia governance. It has become a very technical kind of focus. So this narrow focus of Islamic banking and finance should worry about those stakeholders in the industry who are looking for growth. Otherwise, for last 5 years, before the last 2 years, the growth actually started. There was growth, but growth rate was coming down. And if we are not able to come up with a distinctly unique economic value proposition of Islamic banking and finance, there is a possibility of stagnation. To avoid that stagnation, in the report, we suggest that we have to go back to the basics, the very fundamental question of prohibition of interest. We have to relook at it. First is, riba is prohibited. This means in our contracts we should not be using, we should not be using interest. So if we use interest in the contracts, this means we don't believe in the prohibition of interest, no scope for Islamic banking and finance. If we say the riba should not be written explicitly in the contracts, then of course there is scope for Islamic banking and finance. And if the other view is that we can change the nomenclature of interest, and still we can continue with the contracts, again the scope for Islamic banking and finance is very limited. The third thing is, we actually come up with something new and we price it benchmarked with interest rate. And this is something the industry has adopted. As a result of that, we have this pragmatist model of Islamic banking and finance. We haven't come up, as of now, the purest model of Islamic banking and finance. Until and unless we try to find that model, I think further growth in Islamic banking and finance would be very hard. And this is something we have identified in the report. As part of IFSI, I would like to share with you that this year, the top country on Islamic Finance Country Index is Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia in last 11 years has become number 1 for the first time. Last year it was Indonesia, the year before it was Malaysia, and Malaysia was number 1 for quite a few years. So I congratulate Saudi Arabia for becoming number 1 on Islamic Finance Country Index, followed by Malaysia, and on number 3 position we have Indonesia. This, this index is based on a composite analysis, multivariate analysis. It takes into account 7-8 factors. It's not univariate. I'm going to finish. Saudi Arabia has actually become number one over the last 11 years by bringing a lot of changes. Most recently, the changes in Sharia governance framework, and of course an emphasis on the technology. All these details, they are there in the report. Those of you who have got a copy, you will enjoy reading it. Others who have not been able to get it, we will be happy to provide a soft copy of the report. And if you want to get a soft copy, please get in touch with this guy by sending an email. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Humayun Dar, for sharing some insights. And it was very interesting to note that the size of global Islamic banking and finance industry has surpassed the 3 trillion mark, which is itself an achievement from a quantitative perspective, certainly. Thank you very much, and the report is available on request as well, a special request to Professor Dr. Humayun himself. So it is available outside as well as a hard copy. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying back with us. We have our last segment of the day, which is signing Memorandum of Understanding as well as other partnership agreements with number of institutions from around the world. This includes normal memorandum of understanding. It also includes candidate registration center for AAOIFI fellowship programs. It also includes AAOIFI affiliate university program partnerships and a number of other collaborations through different means. So I would like to now request, in order, we have got at least 5 agreements for us to sign today. First of all, I would like to invite the Secretary General of AAOIFI, Mr. Umar Mustafa Ansari, to join us on the stage. The first memorandum of understanding will be signed between AAOIFI and Central Bank of Somaliland. If we still have the representative of Somaliland here, please join us on the stage. He left? All right, okay. So the next memorandum of understanding is between International Islamic University College Selangor. It is an MOU between AAOIFI and the university to explore a number of different initiatives through the capacity building programs, awareness and advocacy programs, as well as research and advocacy. I would like to invite Dr. Latifa Bibi to join us on the stage to sign the memorandum of understanding between AAOIFI and the university. The university would also like to present a memento of appreciation to AAOIFI, and Dr. Latifa will hand that to Mr. Umar Mustafa Ansari. The next MOU will be signed between a very interesting place, and that is Suriname, which is in Southern America. And the memorandum of understanding will be between AAOIFI and the Trust Bank Amana, the only Islamic bank in the country. And to sign the MOU, we have the CEO, Ms. Maureen Bojeri, who will join us on the stage. And can I also maybe invite Mr. Faizan Mayman to join us? Thank you very much, Ms. Noreen, for joining us from all the way from Suriname. Thank you very much. The next MOU, the next agreement will be signed between Imtisal for Islamic Finance. This is a training partner agreement, and we have Ms. Rauda. Please join us on the stage to sign an agreement. And I can invite Dr. Izzuddin Khoja to join us as well on the stage. The agreement also includes our ongoing collaboration that is in place to translate the Certified Islamic Professional Accountant qualification into French language. The next Memorandum of Understanding will be signed between African Institute of Islamic Finance as a candidate registration center for AAOIFI fellowship programs. And I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Amal Amri. She left? Okay, she will get the contract. Okay, thank you very much. This wraps our Memorandum of Understanding and Agreement signing ceremony for the day. We do have our AAOIFI Fellowship Graduation Certificate Distribution Ceremony, and we have the pleasure of having a number of our AAOIFI Fellows with us who have traveled far and wide to attend the conference and as well as be part of the graduation ceremony. We have, alhamdulillah, more than 2,500 AAOIFI Fellows from around the world, and we have more than 78 candidate registration center and training partners from in about 38 countries. So I'll take the name one by one, and I'll request each one of you please join us on the stage to receive the certificate from the Secretary General of AAOIFI, Mr. Umar Mustafa Ansari. The first person that we have as AAOIFI Fellow is Ms. Fatima Abdurrahim. Can I please request you to please join us? Ms. Fatima is part of Securities and Exchange Commission, sorry, the National Insurance Commission in Nigeria. Can I also request Mr. Aman Nullah Khan, CFO of Khaliji Commercial Bank, an AOFI fellow, to please join us on the stage. Mr. Jamil Ahmed Qureshi, an AOFI fellow. Mr. Abdul Hadi Sheikh, please join us on the stage. Ms. Amina Yusuf Al-Kuheji, an AOFI fellow. Amina. Mr. Muhammad Yusuf Al-Ahmad. Thank you. Next CSA fellow is Mr. Abdullah Rafiq Sidat. Please join us on the stage, who's raising the flag of Islamic finance in Portugal. Can I invite Ms. Fatima Saleh Al-Habib? Please join us on the stage. Mr. Hassan Ibrahim Al. Do you have Mr. Hassan? Alaykum as-salam. Miss Maria Alam. Mr. Uthman Khalid Al Khayat. Can I please request Faidan to join us, please, on the stage?
It's family with multiple qualifications, husband and wife.
Thank you very much for traveling far and wide, for joining us. Thank you. Mr. Muhammad Fazil. Mr. Rawan Rashid Al Mukahwi. Oh, I can see you now. I couldn't see you. Mr. Hamid Khalid Al Awad. नहीं है Can I now request Mr. Khalid Kamran Sherwani to please join us on stage to receive his CSA Fellowship Certificate. He is a Sharia advisor at Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank, Islamic Banking in UAE. Probably the only person that you remember in this conference with his attire. Can I request Mr. Chetan Bey? Mr. Muhammad Abdurrahman Al-Janahi. Mr. Haroon Tabrez. Mufti Zafar Abdeen. Brother Sayyid Sitwat Rizvi. And the last certificate will be given to none other than a women representative, Ms. Khadija Ahmed Al-Ahmed.
Yes, very smart. We have a certificate for you as well because you also passed CSA. You also passed.
Can I request Brother Shayan Beg to please join us on the stage? Thank you for traveling again from Pakistan to attend the conference and also receive your certificate.
Okay, the last certificate will be presented to Dr. Rizwan Malik. He also passed a CSAA fellowship program this year. And by the way, he actually passed. He sat for the exam and he passed it, okay?
Thank you once again for all the fellows for joining us. One more, mashallah. Okay, Muhammad Samiur Rahman. Is there any AAOIFI fellow in the room who has not received a certificate today? And has passed in the last 3 years? If you please join us, I don't know your name, but please join me.
I was saying to some of the colleagues here that it is a qaza because for several years in between we did not have the convocation like this. So we offered the qaza for those candidates who passed in between.
Sister, please join us on the stage. Please. Sister, please join us. What's your name? Aya Hisham. Sister Aya Hisham. Can I request Sister Majida, please join us on stage for a picture? I'll ask the last time, is there any other AOIFI fellow who has not received their certificate and passed in the last 3 years? Thank you very much, Sister. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Umar Mustafa Ansari, the Secretary General of AOIFI, for staying with us. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this closes the last segment of our day today. We thank you very much for being with us for the whole day, and I'm sure you enjoyed the discussions today. We have a very equally interesting day tomorrow where we have 4 panel discussions and presentation and launch of another annual report. I request you all to join us back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Inshallah in the same hall. So I look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much for being with us. Jazakumullah khair.